Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. On this occasion, we're once again going to discuss several leaks that I've managed to find and that I think are pretty interesting to talk about. As usual, all of this information comes from sources that are considered fairly credible. But before we get into the discussion, running out of Stellar Jade and Honkai starrail? Don't worry, there's a more budget-friendly solution. Now you can top up in-game safely, quickly, and at a lower price through U7 Buy. And it's not just Honkai starrail, other games are available too, all in one place. Still not sure? No problem. You can check U7 Buy's reviews directly on Trustpilot, so it's transparent and trustworthy. For comparison, 80 oniric shards cost around $100 in the official store, but on U7 Buy, it's much cheaper. The process is also instant. Just select your server, enter your UID, and the balance is delivered straight to your account, no hassle. Don't forget to use code BOOM for a 5% discount. Click the link in my description or pinned comment to visit U7 Buy. Alright, now let's move on to the main topic. Okay, today is Saturday, and just a little while ago, Beta 4.3 v3 was suddenly released. This honestly came as quite a surprise, because the release date for the v3 beta was unexpectedly moved forward. Well, to be fair, I personally wasn't too shocked because Seal Leaks had already informed us a few hours earlier that Beta 4.3 v3 would indeed start today. With the arrival of this latest beta version, there are obviously several interesting changes that we need to discuss together. As usual, all of this information comes from a fairly credible source, namely Gacha Base. So without wasting any more time, let's jump straight into the discussion. However, before we talk about the changes happening to Morblade, there are a few other adjustments that we should discuss first, namely the changes to the new Relic set in 4.3, as well as the adjustments made to Morblade's signature light cone. The Relic set in question is the Navigator Relic set, which is expected to become the main Relic set for Himiko SP. In the previous version, the 4-piece effect of this relic would increase ultimate damage dealt by 18% for 2 turns, and the effect could stack up to 3 times. Now, the effect has been changed into, when the wearer enters combat or uses skill, their skill and ultimate damage dealt increases by 18%, stacking up to 3 times. At the start of the wearer's turn or after using their ultimate, removes 1 stacks of this effect. Previously, this relic only provided benefits for ultimate damage, but now skill damage also benefits from it as well. This means the Navigator Relic set is no longer limited only to characters who focus entirely on ultimate damage, but can also now be considered for characters who rely heavily on skill damage, such as the Naxa and Archer. Even so, personally, I still think the Quantum Relic set will probably remain the more optimal option for both of those characters. Now let's move on to Morblade's signature light cone. This light cone received several adjustments. First of all, the base HP and base attack stats of the light cone have been increased, becoming 1375 HP and 423 attack. In addition to that, the max HP increase effect granted to the wearer has also been buffed from 24% to 30%. As for the rest of the effects, they're mostly still the same and only received minor rewording. Now, let's move into the main discussion that many people have been waiting for the most, namely the changes made to Morblade's kit. In V3, Morblade received quite a lot of adjustments, ranging from his skill, ultimate, and even his Eidolons. So let's start with the first change, which is his skill. Morblade's skill received a relatively minor adjustment, where the only actual change is the HP consumption value. So now, the skill only consumes 10% of Morblade's HP, whereas previously it could consume up to 15% of his max HP. The next change is related to Morblade's ultimate. More specifically, the ultimate that got adjusted is his special ultimate, or his second ultimate called 10x Perignum. The change here is an increase to the multiplier value of the ability. Previously, this ultimate dealt fire damage equal to 300% of max HP, but now the value has been increased to 350% of max HP. Next, let's move on to Morblade's traces. There are 2 traces that received adjustments, namely his second and third traces. For the second trace, the core effect remains exactly the same as before, which is, while the zone is active, increases the chance of being attacked by enemies. However, this trace now gains an additional effect, where Morblade also receives 50% damage reduction and 50% increased incoming healing while the zone is active. This new addition makes Morblade significantly tankier and much more capable of surviving enemy attacks. Meanwhile, the third trace received a much more interesting change. The ultimate damage dealt increase effect has now been buffed from 50% up to 75%. However, the follow-up attack damage dealt by allies effect has now been removed and replaced with a new effect instead. Now, the trace additionally increases Morblade's own damage dealt by 75%. Because of this, the third trace is now fully focused on increasing ultimate damage for allies while also boosting Morblade's personal damage, without affecting follow-up attack damage anymore. And finally, we move on to the Eidolon changes. Out of all 6 of Morblade's Eidolons, only Eidolon 2 received adjustments. The effect of Eidolon 2 has been completely changed. Previously, E2 would increase the extra skill damage from talent by 50%, ally ultimates would be counted as follow-up attacks, and while the zone was active, each ally follow-up attack would grant 1 charge to Morblade, up to a maximum of 9 stacks that reset when Morblade's turn began or when the zone was deployed. Now, this Eidolon still retains the effect where ally ultimates are counted as follow-up attacks. However, it now has a brand new effect where Morblade additionally increases the follow-up attack damage dealt by allies by 75%. If you pay close attention, this effect is basically the same effect that previously existed in his third trace, which has now simply been moved into Eidolon 2. In other words, Hoyoverse essentially just swapped the positions of these 2 effects between the third trace and Eidolon 2. Even so, this adjustment also means that Morblade will no longer be capable of performing infinite loops like he could in the previous version. So, if we look at all the information we discussed today, we can conclude that Beta 4.3 v3 introduced quite a lot of fairly significant changes. His skill now consumes less HP, his second ultimate received a multiplier increase, his traces now make him significantly tankier, and his Eidolon 2 basically just exchanged effects with his previous trace. Alright, I think that's all we can discuss for today. What do you guys think about all these changes? Do you think Morblade is still worth pulling after the V3 adjustments? Feel free to share your opinions, thoughts, and speculations in the comment section below. Don't forget to share this information with your friends who also play Honkai starrail. And make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any other important updates. See you in the next update.